Hey Siri, what's the temperature? Hey Siri, what's the air pressure? Alexa, add to shopping list. Hey Siri, read iRobot passage. All normal life, consciously or otherwise, resents domination. If the domination is by an inferior, or by a supposed inferior, the resentment becomes stronger. Physically, and to an extent mentally, a robot, any robot, is superior to human beings. Alexa, start Fit to be Read episode. Now, girl! What makes him slavish, then? Only the first law. Why, without it, the first order you tried to give a robot would result in your death. Unstable? What do you think? Alexa, shut up! Hi, I'm Michael Leverts, and this is Fit to be Read. Today I'm reviewing the profound 1950 classic, iRobot. iRobot is one of the great original works in science fiction. It is a masterpiece written by a master of the science fiction genre, Isaac Asimov. iRobot is a compilation of several short stories, all revolving around robots. These stories originally were published separately in a couple of different science fiction magazines before eventually being put together into this novel in 1950. The character Susan Calvin, a robo-psychologist who appears in the stories, is also written between the shorts as a means of connecting them to form the full novel. While much of the science fiction literature of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and frankly beyond, have often shortchanged, or worse, the depth or consideration of female characters in their stories, Susan Calvin, for the most part, models steadiness, poise, intelligence, and leadership. Asimov, through these short stories, creates the foundation for robots in science fiction. Most significantly, he invents the concept of the positronic brain, and most impactfully, the three laws of robotics. The three laws of robotics are as follows. The third law, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. The second law, a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And the first law, a robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. While the independent stories are connected through Susan Calvin's recollecting her more than 50-year career at US Robotics and Mechanical Men, the stories feel connected and a natural fit as there exists continuity in the cast of characters and themes presented. While the idea of robotics and the three laws is foundational for so many great authors and works of science fiction since iRobot, where the power of this book relative to future works is most evident is in the exploration of humanity and what it means to be human. The stories center on robots, but in discovering the mysteries and application of the three laws and investigating the psychology of the positronic brain, Asimov is really prompting us to question, what is humanity? What is best for us? And are we the best stewards of our own future? These ideas and questions are prolific in literature. Many of the giants of the genre have used robots or artificial intelligence to explore these same ideas. Many, including Dick, Lem, Reynolds, Banks, Clark, and others have traveled this road, and the influence of iRobot can be seen in their art. Also great about each story in the book, there's always a sense of mystery and suspense. Asimov keeps us on the edge of our seats every time he puts forward a new puzzle. There's always some big reveal ahead. Throughout the novel, we're presented with robots behaving in confusing ways because of some contradiction between the three laws. Susan Calvin is there for all of it, and she's front and center dissecting what's going on in the robot consciousness. Asimov, if it's possible to even espouse this, is underrated in the genius of accomplishment of advancing his robots as sympathetic among the confusion in high-stakes events, and drawing both parallels and distinctions between humans and machines. The first story, Robbie, is about a girl developing a strong bond with her robot companion. She plays with the robot. The robot does whatever she asks of it, and she loves telling the robot stories. To the dismay of her mother, she is very attached to this robot. This is a charming story showing the potential for us to bond with and even depend on AI. We can see the influence of Robbie in Kazuo Ishiguro's 2021 novel Clara and the Sun, which attempted to examine many of the same themes that Asimov was able to accomplish in just a few pages. Next is Runaround. While not the most compelling, this may be the most clear-cut in setting the tone for the potential conflicts and confusion surrounding the three laws of robotics. The story stars recurring characters Mike Donovan and Gregory Powell, who work for U.S. Robots and Mechanical Men. The story takes place on Mercury and features the robot Speedy. Speedy has gone AWOL for hours. The reader is set right in the center of the action. The stakes are high for Donovan, Powell, and Speedy, so they need to figure things out, and they need to do it quickly. Following Runaround is the short story Reason. Reason again features Powell and Donovan. This time they're on a space station. The premise is interesting in that the star robot this time around, QT or Cutie, is a highly intelligent robot who appears to be highly reasoning and capable of independent thought. Cutie questions the superiority of the humans. Cutie assesses the situation, and the humans end up trying to convince the robot to believe what they know to be real, as opposed to Cutie's different perspective and beliefs that are based on his limited experience and the available information. On the surface, it is a cute and simple story. The deeper metaphor parallels the idea of proving or disproving God and religion. Asimov captures the comparison clearly and succinctly. I can't help but measure this against another classic like Robert A. Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land. In Stranger, Heinlein spotlights similar themes about belief and religion, but instead he does so by writing the character of Jubal Harshaw as an ersatz mouthpiece for the author and his views. That approach is less satisfying. Catch the Rabbit is up next. Donovan and Powell are now on an asteroid with mining robots. The featured robot this time is DV5, or perhaps you can guess the cuter name that they give him. It's Dave. Dave controls 6 other robots that he can operate as if they were extensions of his own hand. Again, we have robots, specifically mining robots, not behaving as they should. The behavior includes not mining, and some unusual marching. This follows the pattern of providing us, the readers, with another puzzle to solve and only a few clues and our awareness of the 3 laws to guide us. Weighing the value of new innovation that solves a problem or improves efficiency while introducing new unforeseen problems is a heavy theme here. The next entry, Liar, is a bit more haunting than the others. RB34, if you haven't guessed, we can also call him Herbie, can read minds. Herbie shares with the executives at US Robots some of what he's learned. True to form, a mystery ensues, and Susan Calvin, caught in the mix, is there to try and solve it. Little Lost Robot ramps up the intensity a bit. In this story, the robots are coated with some loosey-goosey meddling with the 3 laws. It's curious to see how things like stubbornness, superiority complex, and arrogance will influence their interpretation of those laws. In this story, with robots veering into sentience, the humanity postulate is furthered. At what point do we discuss the ethics and morality of enlisting living robots as humanity's servants? Asimov has this in his crosshairs while still wrapping it inside of the puzzle that Susan Calvin is again trying to solve. We can see similar themes from this short story in Philip K. Dick's classic Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Particularly evident is the influence in Sheep's testing to determine if a suspect is human or android and using expected empathetic response as the gauge. Escape, the next story, is the Kobayashi Maru moment in the novel. While working out the problem of light speed travel, Susan Calvin preps the large positronic brain supercomputer, known simply as the brain, to receive, process, and apply data that can achieve the goal of producing light speed travel. The catch, however, is that by feeding this data to the brain, there may be a conflict among the three laws that could confuse and stymie the brain. If unable to resolve the conflict, will the dilemma cripple the AI? This is another story that examines AI behaving more like humans, especially when we consider that the AI is reacting less like a robot and more like a human when faced with unbearable perplexity. Is there any circumstance in which an AI can kill, yet still be in sync with the three laws? The AI in this story is serving me shades of Gibson's AI's Neuromancer and Wintermute, Reynolds' Hesperus, and Clarke's HAL 9000. In an essay about robots, Asimov mused that technology is cumulative, and robots are constantly improved, and it's always in the direction of etherealization. Less human control and more auto control. Drawing a parallel to other science fiction literature, we can certainly see this aspect with HAL 9000 and Arthur C. Clarke's 2001: A Space Odyssey, even if Hal isn't the #1 fan of the first law of robotics. Evidence is a very satisfying short. This one is like an episode of Scandal, but with robot themes. In Evidence, Asimov presents us with Stephen Byerly, who, while running for mayor, is accused of being a robot. This is the first time in the novel we're presented with the possibility of robots being created to look and act identical to humans. Asimov continues to prod us. What is the difference between a humanoid robot and a great human? This is perhaps the best and most suspenseful mystery in the novel. In regards to Asimov's work, it's perhaps one of the most significant philosophically in building the complex foundation of the three laws of robotics. Here's another story by Asimov where we can clearly see the influence it had on other great writers that followed him. This influence can again be seen in Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and subsequently the movie Blade Runner. The final installment for I, Robot is the story The Inevitable Conflict. Stephen Byerly, the politician, is again at the center of the story, along with Susan Calvin, who may or may not be out of her depth on this one. At this point, robots, now in part designed by other robots, have become so complex that the ability for humans to keep up or control them has gone by the wayside. This is a highly philosophical look at what might happen if superior computers and robots begin to manufacture and direct human conflict for their own means, and how it will still gel with the restraint of the three laws of robotics. Maybe humans are just too human, and the, can I say Voltairean robots, is that a word, can do it better. Has mankind lost its say in its own future? While Foundation may be the more obvious to point to as an influence of the great Iain M. Banks's fantastic culture novels, it's not difficult to spot the similar themes from I, Robot, specifically from The Inevitable Conflict, showing up in Banks's work. It's impossible to set aside the weight of the impact of I, Robot as a foundational and heavily influential novel in science fiction as a significant variable in the enjoyability of the reading experience. I, Robot is a philosophical behemoth of a novel disguised in little stories. I, Robot is an essential read for anyone who loves science fiction and desires to consume the most impactful novels of the genre. It is an understatement to say that I, Robot is fit to be read, but I'll say it anyway. I, Robot is fit to be read. It's been difficult to avoid spoilers to this point, so now I'll be letting the cat out of the bag and discuss, including spoilers, my 5 likes and my 5 blasphemous dislikes for I, Robot. Like number 1, Susan Calvin is a pseudo-feminist literary hero. Being an Asimov fanboy, one element of Asimov's writing that can be dated and uncomfortable is the well-noted and well-deserved notion that he has at times underrepresented women in his imagined futures. Calvin is a great character to contradict the suggested pattern. She rises to the occasion and she is a well-developed character, even in light of other male characters demeaning or underestimating her. Some even call her neurotic. It makes no difference to her. She does not need or seek their approval. Like number 2, Asimov sets up a precedent for us that carries through all of his robot stories and adds high-stakes suspense anytime a robot behaves unexpectedly. Reading I, Robot, we are pre-programmed by the existence of the first law to consider that these situations are life or death. Like number 3, Asimov's imagination is astounding. It feels he could go on for infinity with different scenarios that you know are already in his head of the vast possibilities for first law interference. He has any number of scenarios ready to go to paint confusion where a robot respecting the first law is acting in accordance while human comprehension is absent. Dislike number 1. Susan Calvin as the connecting thread to the stories met the task, but barely. It did the bare minimum to blend all of the stories into one fluid novel. Dislike number 2. There's at least one instance where a third character enters the dialogue and it could be unclear who's speaking. Like number 4. In the short story Liar, I felt Herbie was channeling Dickens' Miss Havisham. From Liar, I got all the things I loved from Great Expectations manifest in this mind-reading robot. The story was charming yet haunting. Halfway through I, Robot, the book remains charming and told with the innocence of a children's book, though somewhat masking the deeper haunting truth of the conflict robots have when processing first law considerations that don't meet our expectations. Dislike number 3. It occasionally takes Powell and Donovan a bit too long to acknowledge that they might be dealing with a first law conflict. Especially in the rabbit story, they've been through enough that they should immediately think, I wonder if there's a 3 laws issue if this stuff is only happening when we aren't in the vicinity. Dislike number 4. Davy, Speedy, Cutie, Herbie. It's sort of cute, but it dampens the worth of the book a hair, with every robot having conveniently a string of letters that so easily can be made into a cutesy name. Defending this, from me, it could also be seen as making the robots more human in stories that are leading up to themes of robots becoming more human. So take that, me. Dislike number 5. I almost hate to do this because I don't judge my sci-fi classic reads on how well they ended up predicting the future, but since we can judge his clairvoyance, Asimov gets some low and high marks. Mining on Mercury was clearly a miss. So it goes. Like number 5, I, Robot is to robots what Martian Chronicles is to Mars. But even more so, the stories of I, Robot are the seminal works of robots in literature. The value and importance of this work cannot be overstated. Being aware of this beforehand and witnessing the obvious while reading adds to the reading experience. The list of authors and directors influenced by I, Robot is massive. Read I, Robot and see if you don't recognize origins for HAL 9000, House of Suns Hesperus, Terminator's T-800, Star Trek's Data, Banks's Culture, and many others. Thank you for watching. I'm Michael Leverts. This is Fit to be Read. Please like, please subscribe, please click the notification bell, and YouTube will let you know every Thursday at 1 o'clock when I release new videos. Thank you.